I'm a father of two, a 6-year-old daughter named Sophie and a 4-year-old son named Marcus. My wife works night shifts as an ER nurse, so weekend mornings are my time with the kids. We have a routine: pancakes at home, then grocery shopping at Walmart around 10 a.m. When it's busy enough to be safe but not so crowded the kids get overwhelmed. This happened on a Saturday in late November, right when Christmas decorations were going up everywhere. The store was packed, families doing their weekly shopping, holiday music playing over the speakers, kids excited about the toy aisles. Normal, safe. We'd been shopping for maybe 20 minutes. Sophie was sitting in the cart's child seat and Marcus was walking next to me holding onto the cart handle like I'd taught him. We were in the snack aisle when Sophie suddenly said, "Daddy, that man is taking pictures of Marcus." I turned around immediately. There was a man about 15 feet behind us, phone in his hand, angled down like he'd just lowered it. He was in his 40s, average height, wearing a polo shirt and khakis. Completely ordinary looking. The kind of person you'd never look twice at. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my voice calm but firm. "Were you taking pictures of my son?" He smiled. Friendly, disarming. "Oh no, sorry. I was just texting my wife. Shopping list confusion, you know how it is." He held up his phone like he was showing me, but the angle was wrong for me to see the screen. Every instinct in my body was screaming that something was off, but he seemed so normal, so apologetic, and we were in a crowded Walmart in the middle of the day. What could happen? "Come on, Marcus," I said, lifting my son into the cart next to his sister. I pushed the cart forward, but I kept glancing back. The man had moved on, was looking at chips like nothing had happened. Maybe Sophie had been mistaken. Maybe I was being paranoid. We continued shopping, grabbed some bread, milk, eggs. I was in the refrigerated section picking out yogurt when Sophie tugged on my sleeve. "Daddy, he's doing it again." I spun around. The man was there, 2 aisles over, visible through the refrigerator shelving units. His phone was up, camera clearly pointed in our direction. When he saw me looking, he lowered it and smiled again. Then he walked away, disappearing around the corner. My hands started shaking. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't coincidence. "Stay right here," I told the kids. "Don't move from this spot." I walked quickly in the direction the man had gone, my heart pounding. I rounded the corner into the cereal aisle and saw him at the far end, phone out, looking at the screen, looking at photos. I strode up to him. "I need you to delete those photos right now, or I'm calling the police." He looked at me with this expression of confused innocence. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You've been photographing my children multiple times. Delete them." "Sir, I think you're mistaken. I haven't taken any photos of anyone." His voice was so reasonable, so calm. If I hadn't seen it myself, I might have believed him. "Then show me your phone. Prove it." His smile faded slightly. "I don't have to show you anything. You're harassing me." He started to walk away and I grabbed his arm. "You're not going anywhere until—" He jerked away from me violently and suddenly his voice got loud. "This man is assaulting me. He grabbed me. Someone help." People were turning to look now, other shoppers, store employees. And there I was, the aggressive father, making a scene in the middle of Walmart while this calm, well-dressed man looked like the victim. A store manager came running over, a woman in her 30s with a name tag that said Brenda. "What's going on here?" she demanded. "This man has been photographing my children," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Multiple times throughout the store. My daughter saw him, I saw him, and he refuses to delete the photos." The man's expression turned sorrowful. "Manager, I don't know what this gentleman is talking about. I've just been doing my shopping. He approached me aggressively and grabbed my arm. I'm actually quite frightened." "He's lying," I said. "Check the security cameras. You'll see him following us, taking photos." Brenda looked between us, clearly trying to assess the situation. "Sir," she said to the man, "would you be willing to show me your phone, just to clear this up?" "Absolutely not," he said. "That's a violation of my privacy. I haven't done anything wrong, and I don't appreciate being accused of something so disgusting." "Then let me call the police," I said. "They can get a warrant, check his phone properly." Brenda nodded. "I think that's a good idea. Let me call—" "That won't be necessary," the man interrupted. "I'm leaving. This is ridiculous." He turned and walked toward the exit. Brenda called after him. "Sir, please wait." But he didn't stop. He didn't run. That would have looked suspicious. He just walked at a normal pace, merged into the crowd and headed for the doors. "Stop him," I shouted, but store employees aren't security guards. Nobody physically stopped him. By the time Brenda radioed for someone to intercept him at the exit, he was gone. I stood there, breathless and furious, while Brenda assured me she'd review the security footage and file a report. I went back to get my kids. They were right where I'd left them, Sophie hugging Marcus protectively. And I saw something that made my blood run cold. Another man, different from the first, was standing near my cart, talking to my children. He was crouched down to their eye level, smiling, asking them something. I ran, full sprint down that aisle, and when the man saw me coming, his smile dropped and he stood up fast. "What the fuck are you doing?" I yelled. "I was just asking if they were okay," he said, backing away. "They were alone, I was making sure." "Get away from them." He held up his hands and walked away quickly, but not before I saw him glance at someone else across the store. A woman this time, also looking in our direction, and she nodded at him. There were multiple people. This wasn't one creep. This was coordinated. I lifted both kids out of the cart, Sophie on my hip, and Marcus holding my hand so tight it hurt. I abandoned the cart and walked straight to the service desk where Brenda was. "There are multiple people," I said, my voice shaking. "That man was just one of them. There's a woman in the store too. They're working together and they were targeting my kids." Brenda's face went pale. She immediately got on her radio. "Security, we need eyes on all exits. Possible coordinated suspicious activity involving minors. Lock down the photo center and review all recent print orders." She took me and the kids to the back office, away from the public areas. Another manager brought us water while we waited for the police. Sophie was crying silently, and Marcus kept asking why we couldn't finish shopping. The police arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers took my statement, took descriptions of both the man and woman I'd seen. They reviewed security footage right there in the office, and what they found made me physically ill. The first man had indeed been photographing my children. Multiple shots from different angles throughout our shopping trip, but worse, the footage showed him meeting up with the woman near the entrance, showing her his phone, and her nodding. Then she'd followed us too, staying further back. They found a third person involved, another man who'd been stationed near the exit, watching. When police reviewed the parking lot footage, they saw the first man get into a white sedan. They ran the plates. The car was registered to a man named David Kemper, who had 2 prior arrests for child exploitation charges in another state, charges that had been dropped on technicalities. The police put out a bolo, "Be on the lookout," for David Kemper and his known associates. They checked recent transactions at the Walmart photo center 3 days earlier. Someone matching Kemper's description had printed over 100 photos. The photo center employee remembered him because of the quantity. The photos were of children, different locations, parks, schools, stores. All candid shots taken without knowledge or consent. The employee had thought it was weird but hadn't reported it because technically he wasn't doing anything illegal by printing photos. The detective assigned to our case told me that we'd stumbled into an active child exploitation network. They weren't snatching kids. That's too risky, too obvious. They were cataloging them, taking photos, gathering information, building databases to sell on the dark web. Pictures, locations, routines, family information. They caught David Kemper 2 days later at a different Walmart doing the same thing. His phone contained over 3,000 photos of children. When they searched his apartment, they found hard drives with tens of thousands more, organized by location, age, gender, and physical characteristics. The woman and the third man were arrested within a week. All 3 were part of a larger operation spanning 6 states. The FBI got involved. They found customer lists, people who'd paid for access to the database, people who'd requested specific types of children, people who'd paid extra for detailed information like home addresses and school names. The detective told me that because I'd confronted Kemper, because I'd made a scene and gotten management involved, they'd been able to move fast enough to prevent the photos of my children from being uploaded and sold. But here's what haunts me. The FBI estimated that this network had cataloged over 40,000 children before they were caught. Kids in stores, parks, schools, libraries, normal places where families go. And most of the parents never notice someone taking photos. We were just lucky that Sophie is observant, that she said something, that I believed her, and acted on it. The prosecutor told me later that in Kemper's notes, yes, he kept detailed notes, he'd written about my family specifically. He'd chosen us because my wife wasn't present, because I appeared distracted by managing 2 young kids, because we seemed like an easy opportunity. He'd noted our shopping patterns too. He'd been watching us for 3 weeks before that Saturday. He knew we came to that Walmart every weekend around the same time he'd photographed my kids before. I just hadn't noticed. I found some of those earlier photos when police showed me evidence for the trial. Pictures of Sophie and Marcus in the toy aisle 2 weeks prior. Pictures of them in the parking lot, climbing into our car. Pictures taken through our car window while they were strapped in their car seats. All those times I'd thought we were safe because we were in public, in broad daylight, in a busy store. We don't shop at Walmart anymore. We don't shop anywhere regularly. I vary the stores, vary the times, vary the routines. My kids don't sit in carts anymore where they're visible and stationary. They stay right next to me, always within arm's reach. And I watch everyone now. Every person with a phone, every person who looks at my kids for too long, every person who smiles too friendly or asks too many questions. People think I'm paranoid. Maybe I am. But the detective told me something that I think about every single day. For everyone we catch, there are dozens we don't. They're everywhere. They look normal. They act normal. They shop in the same stores you do, eat at the same restaurants, visit the same parks, and they're always watching, always cataloging, always waiting for parents to let their guard down for just a few seconds. David Kemper got 18 years. The woman got 12. The third man took a plea deal and got 7. But when the FBI analyzed Kemper's database, they found photos of my children that had already been sold to 17 different buyers before the network was shut down. 17 people in 17 different locations who now have photos of my kids on their computers. 17 people whose identities the FBI couldn't fully trace because of encryption and dark web protocols, and there's nothing we can do about it. Those photos are out there forever. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in ghosts or curses or any of that stuff. I'm a data analyst. I deal in facts, patterns, numbers. So when I tell you what happened to me at Walmart last March, I'm not asking you to believe in the supernatural. I'm asking you to consider that sometimes technology can reveal things we're not supposed to see. It was a Tuesday evening around 8 p.m. I'd stopped at Walmart after work to grab dinner supplies, just a quick trip, maybe 10 items total. The regular checkout lanes had long lines, so I went to self-checkout. There were 6 machines, and only 2 other people were using them. I scanned my items one by one: pasta, sauce, ground beef, garlic bread. The machine was working fine, beeping normally with each scan. Then I scanned a can of diced tomatoes and the screen flickered. Not like a normal glitch. It went completely black for a second, then came back. But when it came back, there was something different on the screen. Instead of showing my tomatoes for $1.29, it showed a different item. Help me. $0.00. I stared at it for a few seconds, thinking I'd misread, but no, it clearly said help me where the product name should be. Then the screen flickered again and went back to normal diced tomatoes, $1.29. I looked around to see if anyone else had noticed, but the other 2 shoppers were focused on their own transactions. The employee monitoring self-checkout, a teenager who looked half asleep, was staring at his phone. Weird, but probably just a software bug. I kept scanning. 2 items later, the screen flickered again. This time the display showed, "They're keeping me. $0." My heart started beating faster. This wasn't a normal glitch. Someone had to be hacking the system, right? Some kind of prank? I hit the help button to call the employee over. He shuffled over, annoyed at being interrupted. "What's up?" "The screen keeps showing weird messages," I said, like someone's trying to communicate through it. He looked at my screen, which was now displaying my items normally. "Looks fine to me. It keeps glitching out and showing these strange messages instead of product names." He sighed. "Yeah, these machines act up sometimes. Just keep going. It'll be fine." He walked away before I could explain further. I stood there for a moment, debating whether to just leave and use a regular checkout. But I only had a few items left, and I felt stupid making a big deal out of what was probably just a software error. I scanned my garlic bread. The screen flickered. In the back room, $0. Then it went back to normal. Garlic bread, $3.49. My hands were shaking now. I scanned my last item, a bag of salad. The screen flickered again, but this time it didn't just show text. It showed an image. For maybe 2 seconds, the screen displayed what looked like security camera footage. Black and white, grainy. It showed a small room with concrete walls, and in the corner of that room, barely visible, was a person. Sitting on the floor, knees pulled up to their chest, head down. Then it was gone. Back to my salad, $2.99. I abandoned my groceries right there. Left everything at the self-checkout and walked quickly toward the exit. My rational brain was telling me this was insane, that I was overreacting to a technical glitch. But my instincts were screaming at me to get out of that store. I made it to my car and sat there, engine running, hands gripping the steering wheel. After a few minutes, I felt stupid. I was a grown woman running away from a self-checkout machine. This was ridiculous. But I couldn't shake the image of that person in the room, the way they were sitting, so still, so defeated. I pulled out my phone and called the police non-emergency line, told them what I'd seen. The dispatcher sounded skeptical, but said she'd send an officer to check it out. I waited in my car for 20 minutes until a police cruiser pulled up. A young officer got out and went inside. I watched through the store windows as he talked to the manager, gestured toward the self-checkout area, walked around a bit. He came back out and approached my car. I rolled down the window. "Ma'am, I spoke with the manager. They say their self-checkout machines have been having some software issues today, but there's nothing unusual going on in the store. No one being held against their will." "Did you check the back room?" I asked. "The storage areas?" The manager assured me all employees are accounted for and there's no one unauthorized in the building. "What about the security footage? Can you review it?" He looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I can't just demand to see their security footage based on a glitchy checkout screen. If you have specific evidence of a crime." "I saw someone in a room, on the screen, like security camera footage." "That could have been from anywhere. Old footage from a different location, or just a technical glitch pulling random images from their system. Without concrete evidence, there's not much I can do." He gave me his card, told me to call if I saw anything else specific, and left. I drove home feeling foolish and unsettled at the same time. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing that image, the person in the concrete room, sitting so still. At 2 a.m., I got out my laptop and started searching. I looked up the Walmart's address and searched for any news about missing persons in the area, nothing recent. I searched for employee complaints, labor violations, anything that might indicate something wrong at that location. Then I found something. A Reddit post from 3 months earlier, posted in a local community forum. "Has anyone else experienced weird messages on the self-checkout at the Walmart on Route 7? Twice now I've had the screen show strange text instead of product names, stuff like help and please. Probably just a glitch, but it's creepy." The post had 6 comments, 5 people saying it was obviously just a software bug, but one comment stood out. "I saw that too, about a month ago. Mine showed an actual message. Trapped in storage. I thought someone was messing with the system, but the employee said it was just a malfunction." My stomach dropped. I wasn't the only one. I kept searching and found 2 more posts on different platforms, both describing similar experiences at the same Walmart. Messages appearing on self-checkout screens. One person said they'd seen a brief image of what looked like a basement or storage room. All the posts were from the past 6 months, all dismissed as glitches or pranks. The next morning, I called the police department and asked to speak to someone in investigations. I explained about the Reddit posts, about the pattern of messages, about the image I'd seen. The detective I spoke to, Detective Morris, actually listened. "Can you send me links to those posts?" he asked. I did. He called me back 3 hours later. "Ms. Munoz, I did some digging. That Walmart had an employee go missing 4 months ago. Maria Santos, age 23, worked night shift stocking. She called out sick one day and never showed up again. Her family reported her missing, but the investigation went cold. No evidence of foul play, no activity on her credit cards or phone. She just vanished." "You think she's still there, in the store?" "I think there's enough here to justify getting a warrant to search the premises thoroughly, including areas not normally accessible." 2 days later, Detective Morris called me again. His voice was different this time, tight, controlled. "We found her." "Is she alive?" "Yes, barely. They discovered a hidden room in the basement storage area, a section that had been walled off and wasn't on any official store plans. Inside, they found Maria Santos. She'd been held there for 4 months. The night manager had been keeping her prisoner. He'd been bringing her food and water, just enough to keep her alive. When detectives searched his home, they found detailed plans he'd been preparing to move her to a more permanent location. The Walmart basement was just temporary storage. But here's the part that still haunts me. Maria had been an IT person before she got the stocking job. She knew the store's computer systems. In her captivity, she'd managed to access some wiring, had jury-rigged a connection to the store's network using materials she'd found in the storage area, old cables, a damaged tablet someone had thrown away, pieces of equipment. She'd been trying to send messages for weeks, hijacking the self-checkout displays whenever she could get a signal. She told police she didn't know if anyone was seeing them or if they were just disappearing into the system. She was running out of time. The night manager had told her he was moving her that weekend. If I hadn't called the police, if Detective Morris hadn't taken it seriously, if they hadn't gotten that warrant, she would have been moved, and they probably never would have found her. The night manager, his name was Thomas Brennan, had been working at that Walmart for 8 years. Stellar record. Everyone liked him. No one suspected anything. He'd been preparing that hidden room for months, waiting for the right victim. Someone without close family nearby. Someone whose disappearance might not be immediately investigated. Maria had a mother in El Salvador and a few friends, but no spouse, no kids, no one who'd raise immediate alarm when she vanished. Thomas had chosen her carefully. When police searched Thomas's computer, they found he'd been part of an online group. Other men who'd done similar things. They'd share advice on how to build hidden rooms, how to choose victims, how to avoid detection. The FB. I traced the group members across 12 states. Maria spent 2 weeks in the hospital, severe malnutrition, infections, psychological trauma, but she survived. At Thomas Brennan's trial, she testified. She described the months in that room, the times she thought she'd die there, and she described the moment she realized she might be able to access the store's network. How she'd spent weeks working in the dark with scraps of wire, trying to create a connection. How she'd sent message after message, not knowing if anyone saw them. "I thought I was screaming into the void," she said, "but someone heard me." Thomas got life without parole. The FBI arrests from his online group led to 7 other victims being found in similar situations, 7 other people being held in basements, storage units, hidden rooms. I still shop at Walmart, but never that location, and every time I use self-checkout anywhere, I watch the screen carefully, not because I'm paranoid, but because I know now that sometimes those glitches aren't glitches. Sometimes someone is trying to tell you something. Maria told me later that she'd sent hundreds of messages over those 4 months. I was the 13th person who'd seen one, but I was the first person who'd called the police. I'm a rideshare driver, Uber, Lyft, whatever pays better that week. I work nights mostly, 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. when the rates are highest. I've seen a lot of weird stuff in 3 years of doing this job: drunk people, arguments, couples hooking up in my back seat despite my protests. But nothing prepared me for what I witnessed in a Walmart parking lot on a cold February night. It was around 11:45 p.m. on a Wednesday. I just dropped off a passenger at their apartment complex and was heading toward the main road to catch more rides when I got a ping pickup at Walmart, half a mile away. Easy money for a short trip. I pulled into the Walmart parking lot. It was one of the 24-hour locations, so it was still open, but the lot was mostly empty at that hour. Maybe 30 cars scattered across a space that could hold 400. My pickup was near the garden center entrance on the side of the building. I parked and sent the "I'm here" notification. Usually people come out within a minute or two. I waited, scrolling through my phone. 5 minutes passed. I sent another notification. No response. I was about to cancel the ride. You wait more than 5 minutes, you can cancel and still get a fee. When I saw movement near the garden center entrance, 2 people came out. A man and a woman. But something about the way they were moving stopped me from pulling up to them. The man had his hand on the woman's arm, not holding her hand, gripping her upper arm, fingers tight. She was stumbling like she could barely walk, and her head was hanging down. He was practically dragging her. She was wearing what looked like Walmart employee clothes, blue vest, khaki pants. He was in regular clothes, jeans, and a jacket. They moved toward a van parked 3 spaces away from me, a white cargo van with no windows in the back. Every true crime podcast I'd ever listened to started screaming in my head. White van, woman who can barely walk, middle of the night. This was wrong. I did something stupid. Instead of calling 911 immediately, I started recording on my phone. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I needed evidence. Maybe I thought I was wrong and didn't want to cause problems for nothing. But I held up my phone and started filming. Through my windshield, I watched the man open the van's back doors. That's when the woman seemed to wake up a little. She tried to pull away from him, and I could hear her voice even from inside my car. Weak, slurred, saying, "No, please." He shoved her toward the van, and she fell against it. That's when I stopped being a witness and became something else. I laid on my horn. Long, loud blast that echoed across the empty parking lot. Both of them jumped. The man's head snapped toward my car, and for a second we made eye contact. Even in the dim parking lot light, I could see the calculation in his eyes. I kept my hand on the horn and grabbed my phone with the other hand, dialing 911. The man let go of the woman and started walking toward my car, not running, walking with purpose, like he had every right to approach me. The woman collapsed against the van, barely holding herself up. 911, what's your emergency? I'm at the Walmart on Highway 49, I said quickly, my voice shaking. There's a man trying to force a woman into a van, garden center parking lot, white cargo van. She's not conscious, The man was 10 feet from my car now. I could see his face clearly, mid-30s, clean cut, the kind of face you wouldn't look twice at. He was smiling. Sir, stay away from my vehicle, I shouted, loud enough for the 911 operator to hear. He stopped about 5 feet away and held up his hands in a peaceful gesture. Hey man, it's cool. That's my girlfriend. She had too much to drink, I'm just taking her home. Stay on the line, the 911 operator said in my ear. Officers are 3 minutes away. She's saying no, I called out to him, my voice stronger now. She's trying to get away from you. She's drunk, he said, still smiling. She doesn't know what she's saying. Look, I appreciate your concern, but this is between me and her. Why don't you just go on about your business? Behind him, the woman had slid down to sit on the ground, her back against the van. Her head was rolling to the side. She looked drugged, not drunk. I'm staying right here until the police arrive, I said. His smile disappeared. You're making a big mistake, friend. Officers are 2 minutes out, the dispatcher said in my ear. Can you stay in your vehicle? Yeah, I said, not taking my eyes off the man. He stared at me for another few seconds, and I could see him thinking, weighing his options. Then he looked around the parking lot, empty except for scattered cars, no other people visible. He looked at the woman on the ground, then back at me. And he ran, not toward the van, away from it. He took off, sprinting across the parking lot toward the main road, disappearing into the darkness between the parking lot lights. I jumped out of my car and ran to the woman. Up close I could see how young she was, maybe 19 or 20. Her eyes were open but unfocused, and drool was coming from the corner of her mouth. Hey, can you hear me? I said, kneeling next to her. Help is coming. You're going to be okay. She tried to say something, but it came out as mumbled nonsense. Her pupils were huge. Blown out. Definitely drugged. Police arrived maybe 90 seconds later, 2 cruisers, lights flashing, then an ambulance, then more police. Suddenly, the empty parking lot was full of activity. I gave my statement 3 times. To the first officers on scene, to a detective, to another detective. I showed them the video I'd recorded. They took my phone as evidence, told me I'd get it back in a few days. The woman, her name was Ashley Brennan, was taken to the hospital. The police told me later that she had a cocktail of drugs in her system, Rohypnol, GHB, something else they couldn't immediately identify. Enough to kill her if she hadn't gotten medical attention. But here's where the story gets darker. Ashley worked at that Walmart, night shift stalker. She'd been on her break, went to her car to get something, and that's the last thing she remembered clearly. Security footage showed her walking to her car at 10:52 p.m. At 10:58 p.m., the man approached her while she was sitting in her driver's seat with the door open. They talked for maybe 30 seconds. Then she got out of the car and walked with him toward his van. She walked willingly. Whatever he'd given her worked fast. The detective told me that if I hadn't been there, if I hadn't honked and called 911, Ashley would have been in that van, and they probably never would have found her. They caught the man 2 days later. His name was Marcus Webb, and he had a record in 3 different states: assault, attempted kidnapping, drug charges. He'd been released from prison in Ohio 8 months earlier and had moved to our state. When they searched his van, they found restraints, plastic sheeting, cleaning supplies, and a kit with multiple syringes and vials. They found a GPS with saved locations, remote areas, abandoned buildings, places where you could do things without being seen or heard. They also found a notebook. Marcus kept detailed records of women he'd targeted, schedules, routines, where they worked, where they lived. Ashley was number 7 on his list. The other 6 women had names, photos, and notes about their habits. Police contacted all 6 women. 4 of them had experienced strange encounters in the previous months. Men approaching them in parking lots, friendly conversations that felt off, drinks that tasted weird at bars. 2 of them had reported these incidents, but nothing had come of it. Not enough evidence. One of the women had disappeared 3 months earlier. Jennifer Huang, age 26, worked at a Target. She'd vanished from the employee parking lot after her shift. No witnesses, no evidence, no leads. Her case had gone cold. Using the location saved in Marcus's GPS, police searched an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. They found Jennifer. She was alive. Barely. She'd been held in a concrete room in that warehouse for 3 months. The details of what happened to her during that time aren't public, but the detective told me enough that I couldn't sleep for weeks. Marcus Webb is awaiting trial. Multiple counts of kidnapping, assault, attempted murder. He'll never see the outside of a prison again. Ashley recovered physically. The psychological recovery is ongoing. She came to meet me about a month after it happened, wanted to thank me in person. She brought her parents with her, and her mom couldn't stop crying and hugging me. Ashley told me she doesn't remember most of that night. She remembers talking to Marcus. He'd asked her for directions, said his phone was dead, seemed nice, seemed harmless. She remembers feeling dizzy suddenly, then nothing until she woke up in the hospital. "I was supposed to die that night," she said to me. "That was his plan. I wasn't supposed to survive whatever he was going to do, but you were there." The thing is, I almost wasn't. I was this close to canceling that ride request. 5 more seconds, and I would have driven away, would have been gone before Marcus brought Ashley out of the store. I would have been heading toward the main road, looking for other passengers, completely unaware, and Ashley would have been in that van. I think about that a lot, about timing and chance and the tiny decisions that change everything. If my previous passenger had lived 1 street over, I would have taken a different route and never gotten that Walmart ping. If I'd canceled the ride at 4 minutes instead of waiting until 5. If I'd looked at my phone instead of watching Marcus and Ashley walk out. Jennifer Huang thinks about it too. She sent me a letter from the hospital. She wrote, "You saved 2 lives that night, mine and Ashley's. Because if you hadn't been there, they never would have caught him. He would have kept going, and I would have died in that warehouse." The detective told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Most people wouldn't have done what you did. They would have assumed it was none of their business, or they would have convinced themselves it was probably fine. You trusted your instincts and acted. That's rare. But it shouldn't be rare. That's what haunts me." I showed the security footage to the detective, the footage of Marcus approaching Ashley in the parking lot. You know what made her trust him enough to get out of her car? He was clean-cut, well-dressed, polite. He looked safe. He looked like someone's dad or someone's co-worker. He looked normal. The detective said Marcus had used the same approach on all 7 women, friendly, harmless, asking for simple help, and by the time they realized something was wrong, the drugs were already in their system. I still drive for Uber and Lyft, still work nights, but I'm different now. I watch parking lots more carefully. I notice when people are walking alone. I pay attention when something feels off, and I never ever assume that what I'm seeing is none of my business. 2 weeks ago, I saw a woman in a Target parking lot. She was walking to her car and a man was following her about 20 feet back. Not running, not doing anything obviously threatening, just following. And something about his body language felt wrong. I pulled up next to the woman and rolled down my window. "Excuse me, do you need a ride? I'm headed that direction." She looked confused for a second, then saw my Uber sticker and the man behind her. Her face changed. "Yes," she said. "Yes, please." She got in my car. The man stopped following and walked away. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he wasn't following her. Maybe I embarrassed myself for nothing. But maybe I didn't, because Marcus's notebook had 12 more names in it, women he was watching, planning to target. And one of those names was a Target employee who worked evening shifts. I recognized her from the employee photo in the news coverage. I'd seen her before, walking to her car alone after closing. And I'm pretty sure the man following that woman in the parking lot 2 weeks ago had been watching her the same way Marcus watched his victims. I reported it. Police are investigating, and that woman knows now to be more careful, to vary her routine, to never walk to her car alone. I'm a regular guy, work construction, make decent money, live in a small apartment. I'm not the kind of person who expects anything lucky to happen to them, so when I won $50,000 on a scratch-off lottery ticket I bought at Walmart, I thought it was the best day of my life. It was a Saturday in August, around noon, hot as hell outside, and the AC in my truck was broken, so I'd stopped at Walmart to cool off and grab a cold drink. On impulse, I bought 5 scratch-off tickets from the machine near customer service. $3 each, $15 total. Why not, right? I scratched them off right there in the store, standing near the exit. First 3 were losers. 4th one was a $10 winner. 5th one made my hands start shaking. $50,000. I stared at that ticket for a full minute, convinced I was reading it wrong. But no, there it was. 5 matching symbols. $50,000. I actually yelled. Just a loud, "Holy shit!" that made people turn and look at me. I didn't care. 50 grand. That was a new truck, or a down payment on a house, or just breathing room for the first time in my adult life. The customer service lady verified the ticket. She smiled and congratulated me, then explained I'd need to go to the lottery office downtown to claim anything over $600. She gave me a pamphlet with instructions and told me to sign the back of the ticket immediately so no one else could claim it. I signed it right there, my signature shaky with excitement. Then I took a picture of it with my phone, just to have proof it was real. That's when I noticed the man watching me. He was standing near the entrance, pretending to look at his phone, but I could see his eyes flicking toward me every few seconds. Mid-40s, average build, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses even though we were indoors. Something about the way he was watching made my excitement dim just a little. I folded the ticket carefully and put it in my wallet, then headed for the exit. The man fell in behind me, about 20 feet back, not obviously following, but definitely moving when I moved, stopping when I stopped. I walked to my truck in the parking lot and he walked in the same direction. When I got to my truck, I looked back. He'd stopped at a sedan 4 spaces away and was getting in, but slowly, watching me over the roof of his car. Probably nothing. Probably paranoia from suddenly having something valuable in my wallet. I got in my truck and headed home, checking my rearview mirror more than usual. The sedan followed me. Not obviously. He stayed a few cars back, switched lanes when I did, but not immediately. But after 10 minutes of driving, I was sure he was following me. My apartment was 15 minutes away. I didn't want to lead him there, didn't want him to know where I lived, so I drove past my turn and kept going, watching the mirror. The sedan stayed with me. My heart was pounding now. I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? Someone's driving on the same road as me? I had no proof he was actually following me. I decided to test it. I took a random turn down a residential street. The sedan turned too. I took another turn and another, making a loop that made no sense. The sedan followed every turn. He was definitely following me. I pulled into a 7-Eleven parking lot, public place, cameras, people around. The sedan pulled in too, parking on the far side of the lot. I sat there for a minute, trying to think. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Hi, is this David Ortega? A man's voice, friendly, casual. Who's asking? My name is Robert Chen. I'm a financial advisor with Premier Wealth Management. I heard through a colleague that you just won some money on a lottery ticket, and I wanted to reach out about investment opportunities. My blood ran cold. How the hell did you get this number? How do you know I won? Oh, lottery wins are public information once they're claimed. I just thought I'd get ahead of the curve, offer my services before you get bombarded with calls. A lot of lottery winners make poor financial decisions because they don't have professional guidance. I'd love to help you avoid that. I haven't claimed it yet, I said slowly. I won it less than an hour ago. How did you already know? There was a pause. Like I said, I have good sources. Listen, David, $50,000 might not seem like much, but with the right investments, I never told you how much I won. Another pause. Longer this time. It's in the public database. Look, I'm just trying to help here. Why don't we meet for coffee and I can explain? I hung up and immediately looked at the sedan. The man was sitting in the driver's seat, phone to his ear. As I watched, he lowered the phone and looked directly at me. That was him, Robert Chen, or whatever his real name was. And he'd been at Walmart when I won. He'd seen me scratch off that ticket, seen my reaction, heard me yell about winning, and somehow he'd gotten my name and phone number. I started my truck and peeled out of the parking lot, tires squealing. The sedan followed immediately. No more pretending, no more staying back. He was right on my bumper now, and we were heading into less populated areas, away from the main roads. I grabbed my phone and called 911, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. 911, what's your emergency? I'm being followed. A man's been following me since I left Walmart and he just called me, knew my name, knew personal information. I'm in my truck heading south on Morrison Road and he's right behind me. Can you safely pull over in a public location? I'm trying, but he's... The sedan suddenly accelerated and slammed into my rear bumper. My truck lurched forward and I nearly dropped the phone. "He just hit me," I shouted. "He's ramming my truck." "Stay on the line. I'm dispatching officers to your location now." He hit me again, harder this time. My truck fishtailed, and I fought to keep control. We were on a 2-lane road now, fields on both sides, no other cars visible. This wasn't about investment advice. This was something else entirely. He pulled alongside me, and I could see him clearly now. No more sunglasses, no more pretending. He was yelling something, gesturing for me to pull over. When I didn't, he swerved into my lane, trying to force me off the road. I slammed on my brakes. His sedan shot past me, and I cranked the wheel, spinning my truck around in a move that would have been impressive if I wasn't terrified. I headed back the way I'd come, gunning the engine, my old truck rattling with the speed. In my mirror, I saw the sedan completing its own turn, coming after me again. "Where are the police?" I screamed into the phone. "2 minutes away, sir. Stay on the main road if you can." I made it back to Morrison Road and saw the most beautiful sight of my life, a police cruiser coming from the opposite direction, lights flashing. I pulled over immediately. The sedan behind me didn't stop. It blew past both of us, accelerating, and the police car immediately gave chase. A second cruiser arrived 30 seconds later and stopped next to me. The officer got out and I practically fell out of my truck, legs shaking. They caught Robert Chen, real name Robert Chen surprisingly, about 3 miles down the road. When they searched his car, they found a gun, zip ties, duct tape, and a portable credit card skimmer. The detective who interviewed me later explained how it worked. Robert wasn't a financial advisor. He was a professional thief who'd been targeting lottery winners for 3 years across 4 states. He'd hang around Walmart lottery machines watching for winners. Small wins he ignored, but anything substantial, he'd follow them. He'd gotten good at reading license plates, had connections to get personal information from DMV records, phone numbers, addresses, everything he needed. His usual method was to follow winners home, learn their routines, then break in when they weren't there. Sometimes the tickets were in the house. People left them in drawers, wallets, sitting on counters. If not, he'd use the credit card skimmer to steal their identity, access their bank accounts once they deposited the winnings. But I'd surprised him by not going straight home. I'd made him improvise, and improvisation led to mistakes, led to the violence, the chase, the evidence that got him caught. "You're the first person who noticed him following," the detective said. "The first person who didn't lead him straight to your house. You probably saved your own life. He's wanted in connection with 2 murders. Lottery winners who fought back when he broke into their homes." The detective showed me photos of Robert's previous victims, 8 people over 3 years, 2 dead, 6 robbed of their winnings. The theft amounts ranged from $10,000 to $400,000. Total take over $1 million. And it all started the same way. Scratch off a winner at Walmart, feel that moment of pure joy, not notice the man watching nearby. I still claimed my $50,000, but I didn't enjoy it the way I'd imagined I would. Every time I spent some of it, I thought about the 2 people who hadn't survived their wins. I thought about how close I came to being the third. I moved to a different apartment. Robert Chen had my address, and even though he was in jail, I couldn't stay there. I sold my truck and bought a different vehicle. I changed my phone number. And I never bought another lottery ticket. The paranoia faded eventually, but it never completely disappeared. For months afterward, I'd notice someone in a store and think they were watching me. I'd see a car behind me and check if it was following. I'd get calls from unknown numbers and let them go to voicemail. The therapist I started seeing said it was normal, trauma response, hypervigilance. She said it would get better with time. But here's what still bothers me. Robert Chen had been doing this for 3 years. 8 victims they knew about, but the detective told me there were probably more. People who'd won money and been robbed but never connected it to the lottery win people who thought it was just bad luck, just random crime. How many others had Robert watched in Walmart parking lots? How many times had he followed someone and decided they weren't worth the risk? How many people had he watched claim their winnings, had their information, but hadn't acted on yet? When they searched his apartment, they found a notebook. Pages and pages of names, dates, locations, lottery amounts. Not just his victims, his prospects, people he was watching, researching, planning to target. My name was in there with a star next to it. High priority, the note said. Lives alone, works construction, probably doesn't have security system, ticket and wallet, verified at scene, followed a residence. There were 47 other names in that notebook, 47 other lottery winners across multiple states, all with similar notes. Some had been crossed out. The detective said those were probably people he'd already robbed, though they couldn't prove it. Some had star marks like mine, priority targets. Police contacted all of them, warning letters, phone calls, protection advice. Some had already been robbed and hadn't connected it to their lottery wins. Some reported suspicious activity after winning. Cars following them, strange phone calls, people asking questions about their windfall. One woman had been killed in what police had ruled a home invasion gone wrong. She'd won $75,000 6 weeks before her death. Her name was in Robert's notebook with a check mark next to it. Robert Chen is awaiting trial, multiple counts of robbery, assault, attempted murder, 2 counts of first-degree murder. His lawyer is trying to plea bargain, but the DA wants life without parole. I'll have to testify, tell the jury about the chase, about the phone call, about the items they found in his car. The prosecutor says my testimony is crucial because I'm the only one who survived a direct confrontation with him. The other survivors, the ones who were robbed but not hurt, they never saw him. He broke in when they weren't home, took what he wanted, disappeared like a ghost. I'm the only one who can put him at a crime scene while it was happening. But here's what keeps me awake at night. I think about that moment in Walmart when I scratched off that ticket. That pure, uncomplicated joy of winning those 30 seconds before I noticed Robert watching me, before everything changed. And I think about how many people are experiencing that exact moment right now. Somewhere in America, someone is scratching off a lottery ticket winning, celebrating, not noticing the person watching nearby, not realizing that their moment of luck just painted a target on their back. Robert Chen wasn't unique. He was just the one who got caught. The detective told me they've identified at least 6 other people running similar operations in different parts of the country. The FBI calls them lottery vultures. And the scary part? Most lottery winners never report the thefts because they don't want to admit they won money. They don't want the attention, don't want family members asking for handouts, don't want the IRS scrutinizing their finances, so they just take the loss and stay quiet. Which means the vultures keep hunting. If you have made this far, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Your support matters a lot.